Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, this is John Paval with an Access Arts Live special edition report on the opera streaming's live stream of Verdi's Nabucco, which will be taking place on Sunday afternoon, October 26th at 3:30 in the afternoon here in Europe, which will make it 9:30 in the morning on the East Coast in the US and half past midnight down under in Australia, for those of you who follow us from Australia. It's a new production by the Teatro Comunale de Modena in Italy. I'll tell you a little bit about the director. I'll tell you a little bit about the conductor, and I'll tell you something about each of the main singers in this production, as promised. So let me get right to it, because there's a good deal of information to plow through here. The director for this staging is Federico Grazzini, who has previously staged this opera for the Rome Opera House. He has worked for outside of Italy. He's worked at the Wexford Opera Festival, but he's more generally familiar with these regional opera houses in Italy. The Teatro Regio in Turin, the Teatro Regio in Parma, the Teatro Comunale di Bologna. He has worked also with the opera in Nice, which is not far from Italy. It's just up the coast. And these opera streaming is composed of a group of 6 of these regional operas in Italy, which regularly put on quality opera. So they're the ones that are live streaming this. I can, if you're wondering what kind of a staging it is, I can give you Federico Grazzini's own words on it, translated into English from a recent news article. Quote, "I chose not to set it in a real Jerusalem, but in a symbolic place made of ruins and destruction, a dystopian abstract space where everything seems to come from a dream or a nightmare, ruins of a desertified world destroyed by war, in which a glimmer of hope and humanity survives." I haven't mentioned this to you yet, but Nabucco is Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia, who conquered Israel and carried all the Israelites off into captivity, as they call them. It's a big part of the Bible. The book of Ruth in the Bible is a lot about that. The musical direction is Massimo Zanetti, and he conducts everywhere with opera houses, in Munich, in Dresden, Chicago Lyric, Covent Garden, the Paris Opera House, San Francisco Royal Swedish Opera, Teatro Real de Madrid. So he is a guy who knows what he's doing. I'm trying to figure out how to explain to you the story. What I like to do with these opera things is step by step take you to the story and then introduce you to the different characters and who's going to be singing them one by one. That doesn't work with Nabucco because the story is so complicated. This opens with the Babylonian army led by Nebuchadnezzar coming into Jerusalem and taking off the place. But it gets very complicated from there. So I think it's easier for me if I just lay out for you who are the main characters in the story. Okay, so Nabucco is Nebuchadnezzar, is the king of Babylon. And eventually during the story, he starts seeing himself as a god, and he's struck down for that. And then there's some opportunity for redemption later on. Don't want to ruin the story for you. He has 2 daughters. One is Fenena, and the other is Abigail. And Abigail is an illegitimate daughter, and she's scheming to seize power. so that when eventually Nabucco is struck down, that's the moment for her to make her move and to seize power. Whereas Fenena is less interested in power and very sympathetic towards the Hebrew people. So you can see elements moving up. The other two main characters are Zachariah, the high priest of the Hebrews, and Ismael, who is he's a Hebrew lawyer, an Israeli, and he's in love with Fenena. And so he has a conflict between his love for Fenena and his loyalty to his own people. Now, having said all that, okay, the key thing is who plays Nabucco. And Nabucco is played by the baritone Fabien Bellows. Here's Fabien Bellows. He's a hefty kind of guy. Good choice for this kind of a role, at least physically. He got his start in Brazil at the Teatro Colón, where he's performed in the usual typical baritone curses: Figaro, Othello, Simon Boccanegra, Falstaff, Don Carlo, Tosca, Andrea Chenier, and La Traviata. He's performed Scarpia a lot in Colombia, at the Chicago Lyric, in Buenos Aires, the Scarpia in the opera Tosca. He's performed Rigoletto at Teatro Colón, Marcello in La Bohème, also at the Teatro Colón. He tends to, when he performs a role, he tends to perform it around in a lot of different places. So he performed Germont in La Traviata at Teatro Colón, but he also performed in Beijing and at the Atlanta Opera. He's performed Rigoletto in Chile, Montevideo. So the guy moves around a lot, and he has an international stature, which is important when we're talking about one of these regional opera houses in Italy, because some of the singers don't. Some of them are just mainstream Italian singers. So then among the men singers, then next up is playing the role of the main Hebrew priest, Zachariah is Riccardo Zanellato. He's a bass. He's been around since the 1990s, the mid 1990s. And he worked a lot with Bonaldo Giotti in the early 2000s, and first played this role of Zachariah in 2001, and it became one of his signature roles. So this is not his first time around the park, and he's, it's the French would say, rodé, well practiced, well worked in role for him. He's worked a lot with Riccardo Muti, who has brought him in for lots and lots of different performances in Nabucco, in Macbeth, and Simon Boccanegra, etc. So you've got a good baritone, and then you've got for the bass, and you've got somebody who really knows the role inside out. Then third among the men in the role of Ismael is Matteo De Sole. And Matteo De Sole he's a younger guy, and let me put his photo up for you. I forgot to put up the second photo. I get so caught up in telling this sometimes. Here's Matteo De Sole, and he's a younger guy, and not as experienced at all as the first two. The man there's not a lot of information in his biography. He has played Edgardo in Lucia de Lammermoor in Savona. He's played Alfredo in Traviata at the Rome Opera House when Sofia Coppola staged it. He's played Tamino in Die Zauberflöte, and listed as recent and future engagements. So it's hard to tell whether he's done these or he's going to do them. There's other engagements in La Traviata as Alfredo at La Fenice, at Maggio Musicale in Florence, at Holland Park in London, and in Tokyo. And his La Scala debut in a new production of Francesco da Rimini. And then in La Bohème at Teatro Petruzzelli, which I don't know, and the Prague Opera House, and a host of appearances, mostly in your regional Italian opera houses that I've mentioned at the beginning of this live stream. So now let's talk about the two daughters. Abigail, the scheming, power-hungry Abigail, is played by Marta Torbidoni. She's about 10 years into her career after winning a slew of prizes in Italian competitions about 10 years ago, 2014 to 2016, the usual curses that you have to go through to get some recognition. And she has played leading roles in recent years in La Traviata, and Anna Bolena, and Rigoletto, and Gianni Schicchi, and I Puritani, to name a few, because there are many, many more. She's really built out a large repertoire. This is not her first time doing Nabucco, and she performed the concert version of Nabucco, which I think was most recent for her, at the 2023 Verdi Festival, and has been very involved with the Verdi Festival. Other opera houses that she's familiar with, besides the usual round of Italian opera houses, are the Teatro Municipale in Sao Paulo in Brazil, and the Teatro dell'Opera in Tenerife, and the Opera House in Menorca in Spain. So, and I rushed through, and I didn't show you her picture either. So here's the picture of Marta, who's playing Abigail. Marta Torbido. And then we have one more character to tell you about, and it's the most sympathetic character. And once again, it's Chiara Moghini. In the role of the sympathetic daughter of Nabucco, Fenina. And she's a mezzo. Almost all of her experience is in the Italian houses, the Teatro Comunale in Modena, the Teatro Bellini di Catania, the Teatro Verdi di Salino. I mean, the list goes on, and the Teatro Comunale di Bologna. So the list goes on, and it is almost exclusively in Italian opera houses, although back in 2022, she did sing Carmen in Bizet's Carmen at the Moscow Music Hall. So that was something different. So, folks, this is what we have for you coming up tomorrow on Sunday at 3:30 in the afternoon, European time. I have looked and been unable to find. They opened on Friday. So today is Saturday. You would think that I'd be able to find some kind of news or reviews of this opera coming out after their opening night, but I don't have anything. So I cannot give you anybody's educated opinion about how it went opening night. But I was able to tell you what the director's conception of the staging is, and a little bit about each of the performers, and gave you a couple pictures of what the staging looks like. And that's what we have for you. So show up or blow up. If you're an opera lover, I will circulate this brief resume to the opera loving groups that we are inscribed with on Facebook. And if you know of anybody else who's an opera lover, do please feel free to repost this. If you do tune into it, we would love it if you would come back to Access Arts Live, wherever you watch us, and post your comments on how or whether you enjoyed the production. So before I sign off, let me remind you, if you do want to post comments, I would also suggest you do this. If you're watching us on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching us on any of our other platforms, we're happy that so many of you like our videos, but seriously, guys, don't just like the video. Follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, or LinkedIn, if that is where you watch us. And we will continue to make sure you get more than 1,000 live links to live performances online this year. No other online source can tell you that, because nobody else is doing it. We go out and we get all of it: the orchestras, the chamber music, the new avant-garde compositions, the recitals, the piano competitions, the opera, the ballet, all of it for you. So I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now, and thanks for tuning in.